AM560theanswer.com, on the AM560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. America First with Sebastian Gorka, today at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Hunter Biden and Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House spokeswoman. What do the two have in common? Tucker Carlson made an interesting connection between the two in his riff yesterday about the Hunter Biden plea agreement, referencing this statement that KJP made in an interview she gave the Griot. Take a listen.
Again, this is a historic administration. I'm a historic figure, and I certainly walk in history every day, but this is also a historic-making administration because of this president.
Oh, my God, enough about me. What do you think of me? I'm a historic figure?
Who talks like that? I'm a historic figure. And so beyond the unequal application of the law and unequal protection under the law, something else is going on that's more of a cultural commentary that I think Tucker put his finger on, what he describes as the inversion of virtue.
What we're watching through Hunter Biden's life and through the Biden administration, now entering its third year, is the total inversion of virtue. What was once considered admirable is now derided as stupid, if not racist. That would include achievement, intelligence, honesty, self-control, humility. Those are features of the old America. Those were yesterday's virtues. They are gone. In their place, all that we once considered contemptible and repulsive, we're told to worship that now. Here's a small example, but we think a revealing one. In addition to his many other sins, Joe Biden has hired what has to be the single dumbest, nastiest, most dishonest, most ridiculous person he could possibly find for the very public position of White House press secretary. There's a point to it, of course. It was a humiliation exercise. It was designed to degrade the country and dispirit the rest of us. That's the White House press secretary? Shut up! But here's the thing. The White House press secretary herself has no idea why she's in the job. She thinks she's amazing. Karine Jean-Pierre is now a historic figure. Just like Hunter Biden is now an important artist. Yeah. It makes you feel stupid for going to work.
That was excellent riff.
It was a good riff, a good connection he makes, the inversion of virtue. For more on this, more on the legal side of it, but he can comment culturally as well. Pleased to be joined by William Jacobson, clinical professor of law, director of the Securities Law Clinic at Cornell Law School, also founder of legalinsurrection.com and president of the Legal Insurrection Foundation and the Equal Opportunity Project, or Equal Protection Project as well that we want to talk to him about. Professor Jacobson, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on again.
The legal matters here. First of all, just the idea that a 5-year investigation by a U.S. Attorney's Office winds up with a plea agreement that involves pleading out to a couple of misdemeanor charges. My understanding is that U.S. Attorney's offices don't do misdemeanor prosecutions.
Right. These were felonies that they pled down to misdemeanors so they could give him no jail time. And same on the gun charge. It'll go to lying on the gun application will go to diversion, which means in a year or two, if he doesn't commit more crimes, it'll be wiped out. So this, a lot of people are focusing on why didn't he get a harsher sentence for these charges? I think the real question is, why were these the charges?
Right.
And I think that's really why, the lying on the gun application, gun permit application, background check, could have been charged as very serious felonies. Could have been charged as perjury. Could have been charged as, conspiracy to violate the laws. Could have been charged as a lot of different things. But they chose to downplay it, that, he failed to disclose he was a drug addict. Well, that's not really the problem. The problem is he signed forms that under penalty of perjury that he lied on, and particularly with regard to firearms and weapons, that's something that the feds tend to take very seriously these days, particularly under the Biden administration, which wants to criminalize anything with regard to guns.
Yep.
And for the feds in that circumstance to just write it off and downgrade it to a diversion, that's I think what's really going on here is that the prosecutors made a decision not to throw the book at him, so to speak, and that he's the president's son. And there appears to be an attempt to just sweep this whole thing under the rug. We're done. He's been held accountable. Let's move on. And so that's really the question. It's not why he got what he got for these charges, but why were those the only charges?
Well, I mean, yes, but 5 years. I mean, if the unpaid tax, willful failure to pay more than $200,000 in taxes. Okay, well, so it's either a civil matter or you're going to make this part of felony tax. You're going to make this a felony tax evasion case. After 5 years to settle this out, that just doesn't happen with U.S. attorneys. And the same thing with the gun application piece. I mean, those charges are normally never. They're not brought customarily because it's just the U.S. attorney's offices have bigger fish to fry than to be worried spending too much time on these relatively minor cases. And so to me, the question is, right, why did you cut this deal, as you and we have an idea that why did it take 5 years, and then why after 5 years, at least according to Hunter Biden's attorney, have you not opened a investigation into all of the other matters that we're hearing from the House Oversight Committee about money moving around among all the Bidens from foreign governments and representatives of foreign governments? That seems to like what Daniel Weiss or somebody at Justice needs to explain. David Weiss or somebody at Justice needs to explain.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I think the charges of Biden family corruption and influence peddling and tantamount to bribery are the big picture here. And the question is this, clearing the way for the feds to move on and say we're done? Or is this the way for the feds to say, okay, we've gotten rid of these minor things, now we're going to focus on the big? I think everybody suspects it's the first thing I mentioned, that this is their way of saying, we're done, we're moving on, we're going to slow track anything else, and, moving into a presidential election year, or we're, close to it, and we're done here. And that's really, I think, the fear that people have.
But
it's that all of the political corruption, the Biden family political corruption, is going to be swept away by these minor plea deals on unrelated things.
But late yesterday afternoon, the DOJ said that the investigation is continuing, which means that they can withhold information, correct?
Well, that's right. So we don't know. There's all sorts of leaks when it comes to Russia collusion. Almost all of them were fake and false. Mm-hmm. There were all sorts of leaks from the feds, which had to have come from the feds. Nobody else would know the information about what ended up with the indictment of Donald Trump with regard to documents that he had at Mar-a-Lago. A steady flow of leaks from the feds to shape the public narrative, negative to Republicans and negative to Donald Trump. Hasn't been any leaks from the feds about Hunter Biden. How interesting is that? And so that, again, feeds the perception that they don't want to go there with Hunter Biden. They don't want to go there really with Joe Biden, and that's what it is. The big guy, they don't want to go to the fact that he sold his office to foreign governments and foreign influence for better part of a decade.
The Trump matter, the trial date set for August 14th, and I understand that's to comply with the Speedy Trial Act provisions. But the larger question, I mean, do you see any way that his trial in the classified documents case, the federal trial, happens before November of 2024?
I think it's very possible. I think, yes. It's not going to happen in all likelihood in August of this year. But by the election, yes. I mean, unless there's somebody there who deliberately wants to slow it down, And by all accounts now, the only person who wants to slow it down to move it into the election year is Donald Trump.
Right. Well, exactly. I mean, whether it's prosecution or defense, but I mean, as a defense attorney representing Trump, you'd want, I mean, pretrial motions and push this off past the election. I mean, wouldn't that be the obvious play?
Yeah, you would think so, but that's a long way. That's a long way, and it doesn't sound like the judge is going to go along with that. Obviously, setting a mid-August tentative trial date was not meaning the judge actually thinks it's going to go to trial in August, but it could be, there does seem to be an indication the court wants to move it along. They would have to delay it for, well over a year. That's not uncommon, but,
right.
Then you run into the problem, is the court really going to hold a trial in August before the election or in September before the election? So
right, they won't.
I think a lot will be driven by what Team Trump wants to do.
Yeah. Well, especially when they may have a lot of trial dates on their calendar in Manhattan, in Fulton County, Georgia, maybe another federal trial. Who knows, right?
Well, Manhattan, I think it's already been announced they'll wait till after the feds are done.
Yep.
So if the federal trial in Florida gets pushed off to, January 2025, maybe simultaneously with the potential inauguration of Donald Trump, re-inauguration, then Manhattan's not going to happen for a while. And same will be true with Georgia. I think everybody is going to defer to this Florida prosecution in terms of the timing of other things.
And there's no way President or former President Trump would make a plea deal or plea out.
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine that he's. I mean, you've seen the same. I don't know him personally, but you've seen the same person on TV that I've seen. It's hard for me to imagine that.
Yes. I had a question about the raid on Mar-a-Lago, because part of this discussion with Hunter Biden is the disparate treatment of law enforcement, disparate treatment of Biden, and including Hunter, versus President Trump, just in terms of gathering evidence. The interactions are just different. And that's not just me saying it. It's an IRS whistleblower saying that about the Hunter Biden case, for example, but also what the public has seen. And something I don't think has been raised before, but the whole way in which the feds raided Mar-a-Lago, there's something called a forthwith subpoena, where the feds can show up and say, we're going to sit here until you produce the documents. So it doesn't require a raid. You don't have to bring in SEAL Team 6, but you present a subpoena. You say, we're leaving with the documents. And if you say, well, I got to get my golf shoes and my clothes out of the boxes, and I got to go find Joey to open the door. And so, hey, you do whatever you have to do. If it takes 6 hours, it takes 12 hours. We're staying here until we get the documents. And it seems to me that would have been a way to obtain the documents without all of the showiness that the FBI chose to use.
Well, I think there would have been many other ways, to do that other than the raid and other than the theatrics. They could have, moved to hold him in contempt for violating the subpoena, et cetera. There's no claim here. I mean, the one thing that is clear, there's no claim that there was actually a damage to national security. This is all about carelessness and maintaining of documents that pose the risk of exposure. But if there was a real risk of exposure to, Chinese or Russian spies, then the feds would have certainly had grounds to move in, to swoop in to get the documents, but they never claimed that. And there's no claim in the indictment that any of this material that Donald Trump had actually fell into enemy hands.
Right.
There was no exigency to the circumstances. It was more a document dispute. And it based on his interview with, Brett Baer, and based on what we think is, at least partially true that's in the indictment, he did jerk them around. I mean, there's no question about it. It's not like they said, hey, we want the documents. He said, I'll get back to you. And the next day they're there with the raid. This was many, many months, So while the feds, I don't think, have necessarily good intentions, they did get jerked around a lot. Okay, and Brett Baer, he says, well, I was busy. Why did it take you so many months and months and months and months to get back to the Fed? Well, I was busy on other things. I mean, that's, so, in fairness to them, they were jerked around. On the other hand, they, could have done it a different way.
He is Professor William Jacobson, clinical professor of law, director of the Securities Law Clinic at Cornell Law, founder of LegalInsurrection.com, and president of the Legal Insurrection Foundation, as well as the Equal Protection Project, which, among other things, opposes racial preferences in the academy. Actually, before we let you go, what's your perspective on what do you expect the Supreme Court to do in the admissions case that's before them?
Well, I guess I'll take the common view, which is that everybody is expect them to say that, racial preferences race can no longer be a factor. That, it's time. We gave you 20 plus years. We said this was not going to be a permanent situation. And we're now 20 plus years after the 20 years after the Grutter decision, and we're not going to allow this anymore. It was essentially, we carved out an exception for higher education, but it was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to be a transition, and it's time to move on. And so I think that that's what they're going to do. They're going to say it's no longer can be used in admissions. And, how strong an opinion it is, who writes it, whether all the conservatives sign on to it, or you have a Roberts, a dissent or something like that, that remains to be seen. But everyone will be shocked if they say, yep, keep on doing it, keep on, giving racial preferences. People will be shocked by that. The question is how strong. Will it be, essentially when they said Roe v. Wade was never good law and it's not good law anymore, do they do that with affirmative action and racial preferences or something less? That's really what nobody can know right now.
Professor Jacobson, thanks so much again. Appreciate it.
Great. Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
You've heard Rumpke's Garage commercials on AM 560, and now they specialize in servicing Sprinters and light-duty diesels. But the experts at Rumpke's also service Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks. So if you own an Isuzu or Chevy low-cab forward truck but aren't sure where to get it repaired, take it to Rumpke's Garage, your #1 dealer alternative for repairs to your Isuzu NPR, Isuzu F-Series, or Chevy low-cab forward truck. Whether gas or diesel, your truck is the lifeline of your business. That's why Rumpke's Garage offers free loaners while your truck is being serviced. They'll even pick up and deliver for your convenience. Rumpke's Garage has the factory scan tool to properly diagnose Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks. Their commitment to your business is backed with a complimentary maintenance plan and free 2-year warranty. Go to Rumpke'sGarage.com to learn more about their specialization in Isuzu and Chevy low-cab forward trucks and schedule your appointment today. That's Rumpke's, REMKES, Garage.com.
All right, for years you've heard about Turnkey offering more than just managed IT services. Now, they've stepped up to offer even more business solutions to help you navigate the day-to-day hurdles and help you grow. Do you have long-term strategies such as identifying new revenue streams, growing your customer base, or increasing your bottom line? Guess what? Turnkey can help. Maybe it's a short-term problem like an employee leaving abruptly or filling positions you've had open for months. Maybe you need a shift supervisor, a part-time CFO, an IT guy, or a temporary general manager. Turnkey can help. Whether it's a seasonal problem or a long-term need, Turnkey's consulting staff has years of experience in nearly